That's like vintage segue material right there. So the irony of what you're saying is what Quentin Tarantino recently, and we'll wrap all around the road. We'll talk in memoriam next segment for a couple folks who have passed on in the industry, but we'll wrap our all around the road segment with what Quentin Tarantino said recently in a podcast, as documented by Hollywood Reporter. The article that I actually ended up reading, though, was that he gets blowback for saying Marvel actors are not movie stars. The Kill Bill director drew heat from Shang-Chi star Simu Liu after giving his take on Marvel movies. So I guess our caption is accurate, where he speaks out against Marvel. But the gist of it is I don't love them, talking about comic book Marvel movies. No, I don't. I don't hate them, but I don't love them. I mean, look, I used to collect Marvel comics like crazy when I was a kid. There's an aspect that if these movies were coming out when I was in my 20s, I'd be totally bleeping happy and totally love them. But they wouldn't be the only movies being made. They would be those movies amongst other movies. I'm also almost 60, so I'm not quite excited about them. My only axe to grind is that they're the only things that seem to be made, and they're the only things that seem to generate any kind of excitement amongst a fan base or even for the studio making them. So it's just the fact that they are the entire representation of this era of movies right now. There's not really much room for anything else. That's my problem. It's a problem of representation. Part of the Marvelization of Hollywood, he goes on to say, is you have all these actors who have become famous playing these characters, but they're not movie stars, right? Captain America is the star. Thor is the star. I'm not the first person to say that. I think that's been said a zillion times, but it's these franchise characters become a star. So he goes into more detail a little bit. What he ended up doing was getting
wrong.
No, but of course, which is what ends up happening, right? Like this is exactly what ends up happening, right? People start flocking to Twitter and bash him for saying things that he's on a podcast. He's just having a conversation. I mean, there's lots of things people could quote unquote bash us for if people listen to our podcast. So there's lots of things they could do, but Simu Liu shot back on Twitter, if the only gatekeepers to movie stardom came from Tarantino and Scorsese, I would never have had the opportunity to lead a $400 million plus movie. I'm in awe of their filmmaking genius. They are transcendent auteurs, but they don't get to point their nose at me or anyone. No movie studio is or will ever be perfect, but I'm proud to work with one that has made sustained efforts to improve diversity on screen by creating heroes that empower and inspire people of all communities everywhere. I loved the Golden Age too, but it was white as hell. This is Hassan. You've actually said this before, and I think it's the most accurate.
You say that line, and then you speak my name right after it. Okay.
Representation of what the internet is. It's another country, and it speaks its own language, right?
Only if you pay attention to it.
Well, that's my point, though. I think that. The article basically says, like, if you look at the article, right, Quentin Tarantino gets blowback for saying Marvel actors not movie stars.
Mm-hmm.
What is news about someone? It's not as if he went to social media and broadcast this out there. Now, mind you, podcasts are media just like anything else, right? So if it's on TV, if it's a podcast, if it's on streaming, it's whatever. I mean, now media has expanded to such a degree that it's literally in your hands at all times, versus when we were younger, you didn't have that. You had someone goes on one of the 3 or 4, stations, or maybe one of the cable stations, maybe does an interview, but you have an entire media set up to just react to what people are saying and call it news. It's not news. He's just saying, you know what? I wish there were other movies other than comic book movies. Comic book movies are the only things people seem to be funding these days in theaters.
That's not all he said, though. I mean, if that's all he said, then there probably would be blowback, but it would be nonsensical, right? He went on and he editorialized and he added a bunch of opinions and stuff like that, which is totally his right, and it argues about whether it's valid or not. I think his observations are very valid, but he did give them. And so he put them out into the abyss, and the abyss responded. I mean, that's kind of how it happens.
But in this case, that
he's not a novice. He knows what he puts out is going to be what he's going to get back. So it's not like, oh, he's an innocent man answering an innocent question and look how he's being roasted.
No,
It's
I'm
basically,
not even going there. I'm not
I
even
know
going
you're
there with that.
not. I know you're not.
Yeah. No, I
I'm
know,
just
but I'm
saying.
just saying, I'm not even going there with that. I think it's
I
fascinating to
didn't say
me
you
that
were.
the up and coming generation of celebrities and actors now who have now grown in this universe of social media, you know, that's now their go-to is like, well, I need to respond to something that I wasn't addressed necessarily. Like he didn't say Simu Liu is not a movie star. In fact, he didn't even really recognize Shang-Chi's character at all in his statement. He just talks about Captain America and Iron and Thor, which you could argue actually he picked two of the worst examples because Chris Evans has gone on to some fame. Chris Hemsworth has gone on to some fame, but it's fascinating to me that the process now is okay. If someone says something, you just go to social media and you counter that and you stir things up. And I feel like it's
Well, what would you
it's
use
not
social media for then?
right.
And
Well, but
I mean, is this a new development of social media, or has this been the way it's been for the last 20 years?
well, not the last 20 years. It's definitely something that has
Really?
morphed into.
Have you
Yeah.
never read a message board? Like it's
Yeah,
just
message board is different though. Message
no,
board
it's
wasn't in
not.
everybody's
No,
hand.
it's yeah. Well, I mean, the pervasiveness of the technology is to blame. Then it's not any new trend of social interaction. It's just the way it is.
You wouldn't get a Hollywood star of Simu Liu's recognition to be on a message board in back in 20 years ago. Like you just wouldn't. Like
Yeah, I know the technology has made it so that it is the way it is. It's also the culture, you know. But I mean, look, if you want to avoid it, there's a way to avoid it, right? You either stay off of it or you go, look, I don't really like Marvel movies. I wish there were more. It was more variety of movies, but they seem to be the movies of the day. Hopefully, the era will change soon, and we'll see more stuff. And he could have given a completely vanilla milquetoast reaction to that. Probably gotcha question that he got, because of course these articles never say what's the context of him making that statement. That
right.
that the podcaster might have asked him a question. But if you got to know that these things are geared against you, but I'm sure he loves the attention. What's going to happen to Tarantino? Nothing. He's going to,
Right.
he's fine. So it doesn't. It's a nothing burger. The whole thing is a nothing burger. He
But I
said
guess that's my
something.
point though.
Someone
I
said
think that's
something
my
about
point.
him. Well, I mean,
Evan, what
what's
is
your
your
point? Wait, what was
reaction
your
to all
point?
No, I'm asking Bevin, what's her reaction?
I understand, but you said that's
No,
my point.
my
But
point was is that it is a giant nothing burger. Like it's a giant nothing burger. It's
but all of it
literally
is.
an
But
entire
here you are talking about the nothing burger, so it's not all that
correct.
nothing.
No, but it
So there
is.
you go.
It's still nothing. Even the nothing I'm talking about is nothing.
So let's hear Bevin talk about nothing then.
I mean, I guess I would circle back to why bring up this topic if you have a certain question you want to ask about it, because I think what you're trying to insinuate is that our media, because we are feeling pressured to pump out constant content, that this has become a story because the media channels need constant content.
Yes.
And this is something that media outlets around the globe, because I'm sure this became a story somewhere, is just like, oh, this is something that we can put in there to spark a conversation. Because this topic has been brought up several times. I mean, Bill Maher has said something about it that got blowback and it became a story. Martin Scorsese said something about it and then it got blowback and it became a story. It sparks conversation and debate on the relevance of comic book films
so
right now.
frequently that you got to accept that anybody who engages in it knows exactly what's going to happen to them once they do it.
Correct. And I think Tarantino maybe felt compelled to say something, because maybe there's a film coming out soon and his PR team is like, hey, can you circulate, because you know that saying that no press is bad press.
Yeah, start some heat.
Yeah, start something, because controversy just makes so much money for everybody. And I wish that wasn't true. And I think that's kind of the point of all of this, is that this should just be a dialogue, not a, oh, Tarantino got blowback and and this actor attacked
Right.
the filmmaker, when I think they just are gonna, I think from just the statements that both of them said, it just seems like an opinion versus an attack.
Well, that's the thing, though. One
That's my
is,
point.
I think, genuinely an opinion, though, and I think and you're on a podcast, you're being interviewed, you ask a genuine question, and I actually give him credit. He just gives a genuine answer. He says, "I don't love them. You know, I wish that was the case. I wish they weren't making them. I wish that it wasn't the only thing studios seem to really be behind." I know he's referencing, obviously, because look, there are tons of movies being made. They're just not being made for theaters anymore. They're being made for streaming platforms, and he's looking back to the old school, like going to the movies. So he misses that, and that's fair. I just love it that Simu Liu, felt compelled to respond to it. And you could say that, yes.
Well, but think about it, because maybe his PR team was like, you haven't been in the circulation in a while.
Yep.
Get your
Right.
hat in the game. I think it all just comes down.
I don't even think his PR team had to do it. I think it's they're just trained now. People are just trained.
They are just trained. Okay.
They're just trained to start a conversation that can get labeled as controversy or people attacking each other, because again, that sells. It gives clicks. It sparks a conversation. I would like to change the dialogue towards like these two have a debate going on right now.
Yeah, but that's not going to happen.
But it's not going to.
What are we going to talk about today? Well, here, let's talk about this furball, this complete circus that just happened. Let's all go to the circus today.
I mean, it basically it worked because it is a topic on your podcast now.
Yeah.
So, and that's the
that's
vicious
why it
cycle.
happens.
That's the vicious cycle of like this. I mean, that's my thought process on it.
No, I love it. I mean, I think I think there's definitely a whole machine behind it that makes it kind of hilarious, though, to sit back and read these headlines. I think there's something about these headlines that I'm more or less attacking the headline than anything else when all is said and done.
Well, and because the headline gets you to click on the article, and then you read the article, you're like, I don't know if that was an attack.
Just jump straight to the third paragraph of every article, and you'll know exactly what the point is, and you'll know that the headline was BS.
Yeah,
that's how you navigate the clickbait, because the article 90% of the time the headline is a question that is designed to be a statement. And it's not even the basis for what the meat of the article is about in the first place. It's all nonsense.
And it's all about getting the clicks and the impressions and more, because there's, again, a plethora of media outlets, both on mainstream, on apps, on, Twitch, all the places that you even say, hey, you can find us here on Facebook, on Twitch, on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify. People are in constant competition to get their numbers up, to get clicks, to get impressions. And these are the easiest ways for people to get clicks.
Makes a lot of sense. All right. What do you guys think? Put it in the comment field. And I love that we don't actually debate what Quentin Tarantino said there. I think that's what it comes down to. I don't want to debate what Quentin Tarantino said.
It doesn't,
but maybe you guys do.
Doesn't warrant a debate. It's his opinion.
It's
he
his
ain't
opinion.
right or wrong. It's just an opinion.
Right. So, but I'd love to hear your comments. Put it in the comments field. We will respond back, and we will write back, and we'll have our own little mini comment debate, because that's what we do. That's what we're paid to do. It's very exciting. All right. When we come back, we will discuss. We had some distressing news in the last 2 weeks or so. Some fan favorites, some beloved childhood icons passing away, but we will pay tribute to both the Green Ranger and to the voice of Batman when we come back. Rogue Wave. Hi guys, Mike Dolce here from the Rogue Wave podcast. If you like this video, please feel free to like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. It really helps us out. Leave a comment, let us know what you'd like to see in future episodes, and tune in every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, for a brand new episode of the Rogue Wave podcast.